make the note, 20 years is enough time to become financially independent. Now, we can use all kinds of terms, getting rich, becoming wealthy. Sometimes rich and wealthy is a little bit heavy, where someone might say, I don't need to be rich. But, rich is always in each person's concept of rich. It used to be a long time ago, rich was being a millionaire, but, a millionaire, $1 million is not that much anymore. So everything is relative. But someone says, well, I don't want to think of myself as trying to get rich. So there's other language we can use from a variety of semantics. We can choose what's more comfortable. Becoming wealthy. The term wealthy in everybody's mind is probably a little different of what the amount is or what the accumulation is. So that's interesting. Rich or wealthy. But here's one concept I think everybody can comprehend, even the kids, and that's to someday be financially independent. So now let me give you my definition of financial independence. My definition is the ability to live from the income of your personal resources. The ability to live from the income of your personal resources. Meaning, at that point, you wouldn't have to work, that is to make a living, or work to earn money, because now you have enough income from your personal resources. You would then simply work for accomplishment, you would work for pleasure, you would work for joy, you would work for whatever. But from that point on, once you became financially independent, you wouldn't have to work anymore in terms of supporting yourself, in terms of like making a living. That you can become someday financially independent and live from the income of your personal resources. I mean, it doesn't take $100 million, it doesn't take $50 million, it doesn't take multiplying $1 million, let's say at 12%, it's $120,000 a year. You could live fairly well on $120,000 a year, even after paying taxes. But it depends on how you wish to live. It depends on your own personal lifestyle. But to be free of anybody to have financial claim on you, and to be free to live, in a fairly easy manner, all you need is a certain amount of personal resources to be able to live from the income of those resources. Here's what we call that, whatever those dimensions are, financial independence. Now, here's one more exciting thing beyond that to be exciting, and that is debt-free, to where no one has a claim on your personal resources. And these are all interesting concepts. Economics is major. Putting together your economic plan. My mentor asked me for my financial plan when I was 25. Of course, I didn't have one. Just like a list of goals I didn't have. But a financial plan. Now, here's what's important. My mentor said it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. Because I offered him the excuse. I said, if I had more money, I'd have a better plan. He said, no, if you had a better plan, you'd have more money. I'd been working 6 years. And once in a while now, the creditors were calling. See, after 6 years, he suggested to me after 6 years of economic activity, I should be at least 1/3 of the way to building a financial wall around my family nothing could get through. And how far away was I from being 1/3 of the way? Like 1,000,000 miles. And he said, here's why you're where you are. Not because you haven't earned money, but because you haven't got a good plan. And the key is to not just live in the right country, but to have the right plan. So it's the plan that counts. Now here's what you do. You start with some plan and then refine it as you go. Or you refine it as your needs require, or you refine it as your dreams require. Some people need to make millions. Why? In order to satisfy their dreams. And some of those dreams can be benevolence. Mark Hughes of Herbalife, right? It's going to do, $2 billion this year in sales? But I met him when he was 19, came to my seminar when he was 19. When he was a kid, he got hooked on drugs and managed to escape. At age 18, his mother died from a drug overdose. She was 36. When he was a teenager, he was so committed to helping other kids escape the drug habit that he became a fundraiser, and he became one of the best in the country. As a teenager, because he had escaped drugs, now he wanted to help other kids escape drugs. Now, of course, Mark has become extremely wealthy. He's building a $45 million home in Beverly Hills, which is fairly wealthy. But here's his big ambition, far more than the $45 million home, is year before last, he gave $8 million to a program called DARE, helping kids with drug problems. It's his passion to make more millions and more millions, so he'll have more millions to give to these projects. It just depends on what you want, how you want your life to unfold. But now, financial independence, being able to live from the income of your personal resources, that's a goal everybody should set. Now, if you're a little late coming to this plan, you might have to do a little more stretching than the average person would. But starting at age 15, it's easy to pencil out where with a normal average income and the increases every year to be financially independent by age 35, 40 at the latest, if you have a good plan. Now, the reason why the money all disappears is not because it doesn't exist. It's because the money isn't put in the right plan. So now let's talk about a few other things. One is some people have to wrestle with, and I had a few questions on, is it okay to strive to be rich? Is it okay to want to be wealthy? Is it okay to go for it? I had to come to grips with that. Some people say, well, it'd be better to renounce all worldly goods and just live a very poverty, spiritual life. And that's one concept. I've got another concept. Try this on for size. If you could do better, should you? That's an interesting concept to consider. Why would you leave the biggest share of your life unexplored in terms of personal development and what that might have achieved, either in the marketplace or at home as a father? Someone says, well, I'm not going for being rich. I don't think that's really the healthy thing to do. So everybody has to wrestle with that. And I understand that. But I think one conclusion we could come to, with a good, simple, practical plan, there's no reason why you can't accumulate the resources to be financially independent. So now let's talk about it. Here's how Schoaf introduced me to the concept. One is to develop a current financial statement. Now, this is primarily going to be a current financial statement of your finances, your money. Now, money's not the only value. But make this note, it is one value. It's not the only one, but it is one. Money is not the only measure of success, but it is one measure. It's not the only one, but it is one. Your current income is a measure of your personal value to the marketplace. If your current value to the marketplace is $5 an hour, you get the $5. So, not that a person is only worth $5, but their value to the marketplace is only worth $5. But it's possible to very quickly change those numbers by changing your value. But the numbers do illustrate the value. We cannot leave that concept out. So somebody says, you mean where I am financially is an illustration of who I am? And the answer is yes. Now, it's not the only measure. I'm not saying it's the only one, but I'm saying it is one. There's a lot of other ways to measure a person's value as a father, a person's value as a mother, a person's value as a friend, as a colleague, of course. But we can't leave the money out. Now, here's why money is an easy measure. It's easy to count. Say, how are you doing? Well, there's a lot of, things we could throw out there about how you're doing. And when we say financially, that's easy. Let's count. So, let's face the count. So, my mentor said, let's come up with a financial statement. I said back then, what is a financial statement? I didn't know. So, here's what he said. You take a piece of paper, draw a line down the center. Over here, you list all of your assets. Everything you can think of that you have that's got value. And then we add this up, the total. Whatever you've got. Your bicycle, whatever you got. Put it on here, put some value on it. That's the total of your assets. Now over here's your liabilities. Here's what you owe. So I started putting this together. I said, well, if I do this, it's not going to look that good. He says, it doesn't matter how it looks. It matters whether or not you do it. He said, let's take a picture of where you are currently. As bad as it may be, or as good as it may be, let's take a picture. After 6 years, click. And these are called what? The facts. He said, you don't have to publish this in the paper. This is just for you. So I started putting my liabilities, my parents, that I'd borrowed money from, budget finances, the whole bit. Now assets. Now I am embarrassed. I even put my shoes on here. I mean, the Salvation Army give you what, $4 for your shoes. Can you imagine the trauma I went through now putting together my first financial statement after 6 years? And he said, if you would have taken this picture much earlier, you probably would have done something about it. So this is what you must affirm now. This is the truth. This is where you are. This is not everything in your life, but this is where you are financially. Then he said, we subtract assets, liabilities from assets, and we come up with current net worth. And you can imagine my picture did not look very good. Now here's what he said. Let's start changing this picture.